Anyway, okay. First story I want to talk about. YouTube adding, testing a color filter. Then you actually saw this on your feed.
Yeah, it came up on my feed.
A color filtering feature.
I will say I never would have noticed it unless David mentioned it the other day.
Yeah.
Because you saw the article about it. Do you want to explain what it is?
Sure. YouTube loves to make random experimental features. Some are very useful.
Evergreen.
Like summarizing your chat or summarizing your comment section. Some are questionable, as this one kind of is. Basically, the feature is that for some users, this is just being tested on some users, and Andrew happened to be a lucky user picked out by YouTube. You now have an option to sort your feed by the color of the thumbnail with 3 different colors. You can either sort it by red, green, or blue, RGB. In practice, this is strange. Vibes only, Purely vibes. Yeah. So if you click one of them, it basically just shows you a bunch of thumbnails where the primary color is a certain color. There's a Verge article on it, and the test image that they showed. The first video was the autofocus Model 3.
Yeah, the red Model 3, yeah.
And then a bunch more videos that just had a lot of red in the thumbnail, which says nothing about the contents of the video.
That's what I was thinking. Like, you're clicking a thumbnail and then it's over. You're watching the video. It could be a red video. Like, if it's a red car review. There's a lot of red in the video, but often that's not true.
Yeah,
YouTube, so I don't
it's just
really...
in the thumbnail, so it doesn't even mean the video is. So when it came up on mine, it just said craving something new, and then had 3 circles, red, blue, green, and said create a feed of videos based off color and enjoying exploring. Let's go.
Create an aesthetic grid of red thumbnails.
It's just like, a temporary like search of just like color. Thumbnail color base.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm not mad because I would never have thought about something this stupid. But because, like, I don't know, some dumb, stupid stuff is just kind of fun. But it's also just very strange.
I think they're just bored. I think YouTube, if there's one thing that I've learned about YouTube over the years, like, we've actually been privileged enough to get some behind the scenes and like talk to people who work for YouTube. And that is a very, very large ship with very many oars. And yes, Neil is a CEO, but he can like point it in a direction and sort of like steer this big thing. When they're so gigantic, any changes they make are at scale, no matter what they do. So if you have a tiny little change that affects 1% of the users on the site, that affects 100 million people. Like, that's just what happens.
Right.
And so they run these experiments all the time where they're like, we just want to kind of see what would happen if... And they'll run an experiment that's like 0.01% of users. And if it works well, maybe 0.02%. And sometimes it makes it the whole site. Sometimes they just go, yep, no more like button counter, no more dislike button counter or whatever. And it's the whole site. And that's a huge sweeping change everyone talks about. But I feel like they run these tiny little experiments all the time that nobody talks about that are just as pointless feeling or even dumber than this one.
Yeah. I think they added the Chrome game to it at some point, like temporarily,
like
the dinosaur game, and then it went away. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think like my best guess at what this would attempt to be is we've talked about it. We weirdly talked about it not that long ago, but old sites like Stumble Upon, where it's just kind of like, hey, we're trying to get people to some new things. Maybe your feed's a little stagnant. Maybe the people you're subscribed to, you're not enjoying as much. Here's like an opportunity to find some people. Why they decided, like,
here's just
I want to find people with red thumbnails right now is the route they went. Not totally sure.
Maybe something crazy unexpected happened that we didn't know about. Like when you just go blue thumbnails, it's all videos about
Eiffel
the
65.
Ocean. I don't know. It's like I have no idea what happened, but maybe they found something there.
I'm gonna create 3 new YouTube channels, one called red, one called green, and one called blue, and just flood them with colored videos of that color, so that when people use this feature, all my channels get tons of views.
I definitely thought you were about to make a Pokemon reference.
Oh,
should we do ABC testing where it's just the same video except we do thumbnails
Different
in
colors.
red, blue, and green?
That's actually a totally in the weeds but very valid question, because we have done A/B testing with different colors of the same device, where Tim is a wizard. So we'll have one iPhone video thumbnail and he'll change the color of the phone I'm holding from blue to titanium. So we have 2 of them. And what we found is it makes almost no difference. Unless there's like an iconic color, which I thought titanium for the iPhone was, it would make a less than 1% difference.
This is very funny. We got access to the multi-thumbnail option recently where you can submit 2 thumbnails, actually up to 3 now,
3, yeah.
And basically it'll do A/B testing and figure out what people are more likely to click on, which has a higher click-through rate.
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
It tells you which one ended up delivering a higher overall watch percentage.
Oh, okay. Which is like what YouTube wants, not necessarily what we want.
Yeah.
Which is...
Have I said this on the pod before?
I don't know, actually.
It's the opposite of what you would think. So when you're testing a thumbnail, I think a lot of people measure a good thumbnail as high click-through rate.
Yeah.
People saw the thumbnail and clicked it. Good thumbnail.
Yeah.
People saw the thumbnail and weren't interested. Bad thumbnail. So you'd measure success by a high click-through percentage. And what YouTube is actually giving you when you A/B test is not the percentage at all, but it's the average watch time of the viewer that clicked that thumbnail. So let's say you have thumbnail red, thumbnail blue, and people watched 50% of the video when they watched thumbnail red, but they watched 80% of the video with thumbnail blue. You would think thumbnail blue is the winner because you want to reward that really good metric. But what we started to realize is if you equalize all other factors for your own audience who would just click whatever you post no matter what the thumbnail is.
Yeah.
If you have a horrible thumbnail, only the most dedicated viewers will watch it and give you a high watch percentage.
Right.
So a thumbnail with a bad click-through rate will have a great average watch time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
yeah.
if you find like you get 5% more watch time with one thumbnail, maybe pick that one.
Yeah.
But if you find you get 40% more watch time, it probably means the other one is actually a horrible thumbnail.
Yeah. And watch time is very important and good because it can play more ads, which generates more revenue for both YouTube and the uploader.
Yeah.
But arguably, sometimes you would just want more clicks.
Well, yeah, like I would almost argue YouTube wants it because they want more people staying to do more ads
And satisfied.
and satisfied. But like that almost argues for non-clickbait things because they don't want people clicking things realizing it has nothing to do with the
That's true.
thumbnail,
Right.
which is true. But let's be real, almost every YouTuber is looking for the person to click because they've never seen it before.
Yeah.
The goal should be a nice balance. You don't want to overpromise, underdeliver. That's a bad thumbnail that has a high click-through rate and a low watch time. But you also don't actually want to underpromise, overdeliver because people won't even click the thumbnail to get rewarded in the first place.
Yeah.
You want to find the balance. This metric is kind of sort of floating in the middle.
I do that on my YouTube channel, which is why
Underpromise?
I get no views. But yeah, I intentionally make everything look like really ambiguous and complicated. But ironically, when we do the A/B testing on the thumbnails, the percentage is almost always 50.1 and 49.9, which to me is like, that's probably not statistically significant.
Exactly.
No.
Actually, if it's close enough, YouTube will just tell you, it's a tie, whatever you want.
Yeah.
It
And that
won't even
happens
pick.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we probably have to test bigger differences in thumbnails.
Maybe by color.
Well, all red thumbnail,
Maybe that's what YouTube
red
found
shirt,
out.
red phone, red background.
Maybe YouTube was like, we tried this multi-thumbnail thing and it isn't giving us any relevant data, so let's just throw everything in the wall and do colors.
See how it
I
goes.
feel like YouTube releasing new features feels like whenever we get a new mirrorless camera that also shoots videos, it's like they're like, hey, we're giving you this thing that you really want, but we're also going to kind of screw something up with it where it doesn't even really give you everything you want. Like we wanted A/B testing, but they're like, we just got to sprinkle in a little bit of our mystery
Right.
here as well, so you can constantly be in a Discord channel trying to figure out how this actually works.
I mean, I get it. If YouTube rolled out a feature where they're just, we'll tell you which one has the higher click-through rate, people will just continue to optimize for the more and more and more clickbaity thumbnail.
I get
That's
it.
a good point.
It
I didn't
makes
think
sense.
about that.
But that's where we find ourselves is sorting by red, blue, and green. Okay, thanks for watching that clip. We need an outro for the clip. So what I would suggest is we all sit here and explain why you should like the video, but more importantly, watch the full episode if you want the context of the whole conversation.
Why would you ever want context?
So you can see me really botch this week's trivia question.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just terrible.
That's a huge reason to go watch. So yeah, they got to the end of the clip, and then we tell them, go watch Ellis fumble the trivia question.
Just
Trip over it over and over. So
we also talk about other stuff.
What other stuff?
Cars.
Life.
If
Life,
photos are real,
Happiness.
Photos are real.
Earth, wind, air,
Fire.
Leche.
leches.